Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets. Interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I'm your host, Kim Wanup. I hope you are keeping safe and healthy. Hope everyone's getting some well-deserved rest. I think we're all deep into this. I mean, people are getting shaggy. I know hair salons and barber shops will probably be packed when everything opens up again. And one of the good things is I feel like you have tried to keep in touch with people, and I've been in touch with like childhood friends and friends from college that I haven't spoken to in years, that somehow you just pick up the conversation, and I don't know if I would have had the time to have reconnected like that, so I'm grateful for that in this time. It's been a nice time to connect, which is weird since we can't physically connect, but I've emailed colleagues and also some people who have been on this podcast just to check in and see if they're okay. I asked a couple of them what their working situations were and what they think is going to happen to our industry when we all get back to work. I emailed with production designer Annie Beauchamp, and she's doing well. She misses working, but is enjoying the traffic-free mornings. Annie was working in Vancouver on a film in pre-production when she went home for the pandemic in Australia. She thinks it'll be a slower rollout. She says nobody at the studios wants to make guesses about when it will be safe for this early in the game, and that there will be safety protocols that the studios are developing that they'll need to follow. Until or if there is a vaccine, I'd imagine we will be following new protocols, and hopefully there will be antiviral drugs to treat and reduce the COVID soon. So she's very helpful. And she also hopes that all of the good-spirited things will continue on after this pandemic, because there's so much good happening out there. She's right. It's good to focus on that. I also checked in with my friend, location manager, Caleb Duffy. He's doing well and keeping sane. He's been talking to other location managers, the permit office in LA, friends and producers, and he said there's a lot of good ideas out there, like sanitation zones on set, essential crew only, reducing crew sizes, casting from video link, table reads on video link. He said Sweden is getting ready to open up with a lot of these elements on their production industry, so I guess they'll wait and see how that's going to happen, and maybe America will take off from that. Productions that can stay on a studio lot with low amount of crew would be the first to most likely open up. LA is having a call next Thursday to start setting up these plans into place, and there'll be some more solid information then. So he said he'd keep me updated, which I hope I will then pass along to you. And I talked to my good friend Ethan Goodwin, who I'm working with and who we set up happy hour every Thursday. He said he would hope that once we are all able to return to work, the decorating crew is given the space and time to dress the sets without working around painters and grip ladders. In the spirit of social distancing, that could be one silver lining for us, and I concur. We're always on top of each other, so that would be nice. I emailed with production designer Derek Hill, whose daughter Michelle lives in Salt Lake City, works in an ER hospital there. But her and her group of 50 doctors, nurses, and nurse practitioners went to New York City last week to aid the New York Presbyterian Hospital with the overload of coronavirus. She is working 12-hour shifts. She's been there a week now since we've emailed, and so I hope she's doing well. Let's all say a prayer for her, and what bravery that is to commit like that to the job and to helping people get well. I can't applaud her more. Derek was on a WBCW pilot that was shooting in North Carolina when it was shut down, and he has no word yet on his return. No one on the crew or the studio has gotten ill from coronavirus, so that was a positive. He said that positive health conditions were already set as a standard on his set. Plenty of Clorox wipes and hand sanitizer. They had ended openness of craft service tables. The caterer had developed a cleaner situation with wrapped utensils, plates, and glasses, etc. Derek had some good thoughts about how we can get back to work safely, and I think it's probably something we're all thinking of. A lot of examples that he set forth were a specific COVID-19 medic on set at all times. A cleaner, healthier stages, full-time cleaners, better restroom ratios, ample office space, printers. I mean, you have no idea how we all share the same printer, and that's kind of a big thing. So, yeah, he's right. New printer, more printers. Maybe box lunches, or crew has stipends to provide their own food. We're going to need gloves, masks, each and every day and more than one set. Adhere to no more than 12 hours so that the pre-cleaning crews have the proper time to make and set the stages that are safe to work on. Stop late calls on Friday that carry over into Saturday mornings in favor of working split calls so that days worked are within the same days. Crew lunches staggered, no outside visitors to set, everyone wear a safety badge, extra medics around, no large crowds. I mean, he's right. I mean, we're all thinking about this. He adds that prop houses or construction suppliers need to have the same health standards. All of our vendors. He feels that production designers and art directors could do meetings over Zoom. Set designers, graphic designers could work remotely. Scouting could be done from location files to Dropbox, and scout vans will have to be rethought. So, same with tech scouts, he says. I just think, he's dead on, and it's a lot of things, and this is only our department. I mean, I'm sure electrics has the same concerns, and transpo, and wardrobe, and so it's a lot to figure out, but I am thankful that my friends checked back in with me, and I hope everyone's doing good. So this week on What's One Up Watching, I'm watching Mrs. America and Mandalorian. Mrs. America is just gorgeous. I get so jealous when I see sets like this. They are beyond layered with character. The color palette is just perfect period saturated colors. The wardrobe is coordinated perfectly with this great acting. It's just really fun, and I find the subject matter is just perfectly timed right now with women working from the home and juggling their families. I'm really enjoying it. I think I'm caught up, whatever episode it's on, this week's episode 4. I love it. I also started Mandalorian, which is another gorgeous show in its own right. And as I've said many times, I would die to do a Star Wars film. I'm just so impressed of how these sets are designed and dressed. The imagination and the creativity, it's so inspiring. I just love it. I like the show. Little Yoda is adorable, but I'm trying to figure out, he's not Yoda, right? Because I looked it up. This is set 25 years after Return of the Jedi, but I'm only on episode 5, so I haven't figured out if that's really Yoda yet. I don't know. I guess I'll find out. I should also say I forgot to comment on the design of Ozark 3 in my last episode. I think the Steamboat Casino is fantastic. That staircase feels like the Titanic staircase or something. Really fun, and hell of a season. And I just think they do those characters so well in their own environments. Just a great show to watch. In this episode 2 of my interview with production designer David Gropman, I discuss hiring overseas crew, working with super talented set decorators, his design process on Life of Pi and working with Ang Lee, and then I totally dork out about the film Once Around, and that's cool. I didn't want to embarrass myself, but too late. So I hope you enjoy. locations, because it seems like you do a lot of location work. Let's say that.
I do.
How, and especially, I would assume, just like if you're working in New York, you sort of have a team, or you have like a couple names, like
Yeah.
But when you go abroad or you go over, you said, you have decorators or someone that you call, but how do you feel about assembling a team in a different country? Is that like, that would keep me up at night?
No, when I did, let's see, when I did, I think the first thing I did in London was chocolat. And so when I did chocolat, I hadn't worked in the UK before, and it was a time where I guess there wasn't a lot of production going on, so I sort of had my pick.
That's nice.
I had met Anna Pinnock because I interviewed every decorator that was around, Stephanie McMillan, because she reminded me a lot of a very wonderful decorator that I worked with a lot in the States by the name of Gretchen Rao. And so I hired Stephanie, who was like, one of the premier set decorators.
Yeah.
Okay, no question.
Yeah.
And wonderful art director by the name of John Frankish. Wonderful construction coordinator by the name of Malcolm Roberts. So I don't know, I was just very lucky. But then, like Malcolm and Anna, who didn't work with me, but then subsequently worked with me on, we did reshoots for the shipping news in London, and Anna worked with me on that. So they all went with me to Taiwan and India for Life of Pi. A couple of years ago, we did another film in the UK called Burnt, and it was the same team again, different Tina Jones on that. And so I don't know. So and then I worked in Venice on Casanova and had a wonderful team there. And so when I came to do Catch-22, I had some people who had worked with me in Venice, who were Romans anyway, to begin with. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've just been lucky that way.
Yeah. I mean, it's always timing. You never know.
It's timing, and I don't know. It always works out somehow. I don't know. I feel like I've been very lucky that way. And so now I have a kind of European team. I certainly have people in New York that I kind of grew up doing movies with that are always my first call when I'm working in New York. And still people in Los Angeles, even though I haven't done anything in LA for quite a while now, but still people in LA also. I don't know. I don't know. It's,
It's hard. I always think it's hard to, because you interview someone and then you're like, okay, you seem cool. And then you're like, okay, well, we're going to spend like 10 hours a day together for like this amount of time. Like, I hope this is cool and I hope you're cool and like, and get your work done. And it really is.
There's no question. Talent is important, but, but the personality is every bit as important.
Yeah.
No question.
It is.
And I think that's always weighed heavily on decisions that I make.
Yeah.
And like I said, lucky. And you might have noticed from my resume that my long-standing supervising art director is my wife, Karen Schill.
Yes.
So that's been an incredibly nice.
That is nice. I mean, to be able to share the misery of it is really important. And the joy. I mean, the joy, the high of it when you're done and you see it, or like you see it, dressed and like on the monitor, and like just to be incredibly proud of your work with someone is awesome, you know. And I mean, my husband doesn't work in the industry, and that's also really nice too, because he's more of that aloofness of like, wait a minute, what? You guys did that? Like, that's crazy. So the magic is still there in some of it for him, but like to have the camaraderie, I'm assuming, to go through the war together on projects, that's really nice to be able to have that together.
Well, and somebody who knows you so well. And I mean, Karen is a wonderful designer, and she had a really wonderful theater career. And at the time she was pregnant with our daughter, I had done a few, small films like Jimmy Dean and something called Key Exchange. And I've been asked to do The Last Days of Frank and Jesse James, a television movie with Johnny Cash as Christopherson.
I mean, that's a huge cast. That's like...
That was an awesome cast.
Yeah.
Plus, we were all invited for Thanksgiving dinner at Johnny Cash and June Cash's house.
Oh my God.
Pretty cool.
That is pretty amazing.
But Karen was 5 months pregnant, and I said, I don't want to go to Nashville when you're pregnant and be on my own. Why don't you come and just be the art director? So that was the first show that Karen...
She's like, great, if I have to come with you, I have to work. I can't just come with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put her to
she
work.
Loves working. She put me to shame. She is a really hard worker. Good Midwestern stock.
Nice.
And she was backing up the trucks to, put the dirt down on the town squares and little city towns outside of Nashville. And so she started there, and we continued to kind of, when our daughter was born, kind of travel like a circus family from location to location. And then our son was born, and then we continued all working, going out together. And then he got to a point where he was in middle school and he was big into sports. And so she took a 8-year hiatus.
Nice. Well, she took another job.
Yeah.
I don't have a second to myself. I thought like, woo, time off. This is like, I'm at work every day at 7 a.m. My shift doesn't end till 7:30 p.m. So yeah, I'm working more than I usually do at this point, but I love it.
Twin boys.
Twin 16-month-old boys, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and like your wife, worked on. I don't know why. I worked up until the day I delivered. Just really stupid. It's that drive.
No.
It's that like, why? I think back now and I'm like, why did I do that? But at the time, you're just like, I can do this. That's fine. I can do it. And I did, and whatever. But yes, it's another job. I am always very inquisitive of how people have a family and pull this off and working and have a family in this business, because the hours they're insane, and it's priority, and it's hard. It's really hard to balance this with kids, and of course I'm finding out, and I'm sure you would agree. It's a lot.
Yeah. I think our kids would say, I'm sure there were moments. I know there was one particular moment with our daughter when we were going to Massachusetts to do Cider House Rules, and she was 12 years old, and we were ruining her life, and how can we take her out of school and away from all of her friends? And she ended up loving being in Northampton, Massachusetts, and made great friends there, and ended up the following year going to boarding school just outside of Northampton.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So in the end, she had no complaints, and they're both great travelers. They'll go anywhere.
Yeah. that's really important, not to fear the world, because it's scary, but yeah, to travel is really amazing. Yeah, I hope the boys have that bug too, but I funny enough, I've only done one location film. It was in Albuquerque. Yeah. And then it seems in the last like year or so, I've gotten not so many, but offers of like, hey, we need someone in Vancouver. We need someone in New Zealand. Hey, it says Hawaii. And I'm like, are you kidding? I've been decorating for 12 years. I got like one call. Now I can't go anywhere. And I've got all these calls. It's like,
but that will all change.
No. Yeah.
One day.
Yeah. I know. My husband's like, whatever, we'll take them. I'm like, no, I'm not. I can't. My brain will explode if I have to figure another thing out right now. I can't do it.
I was going to say, now's the time in your life when they're young.
I know. Don't get on the side with my husband here. Don't give him any more credibility in this argument, okay? Oh, they're at the door. They found me. I hope he got him. Let me see. What else can I? Because I have to ask about Once Around, but I'm gonna wait till the end. I wanted to ask when you worked with Ang Lee in Taking Woodstock and Life of Pi.
Yeah.
And I saw Life of Pi when it came out. I was gonna rewatch it this week. And now, as a mom, I can't watch certain things.
Yeah.
And the thought of rewatching that, I started to well up and cry because it's such an emotionally packed film.
Yeah.
So I didn't rewatch it, but I remember how good it was. But in your design process, it's so much CGI in there. Like, how did you collaborate on that?
Well, so the thing. So, I don't do a lot of big visual effects movies, although there's quite a few big visual effects in Taking Woodstock.
Yeah, and Catch-22, no?
And certainly in Catch-22.
Yeah.
Definitely in Catch-22. But, so, the thing is on Life of Pi, first of all, what an amazing book, and what an amazing screenplay was. The screenplay was really quite remarkable to read. And but so the thing is, so I had worked with Ang on Taking Woodstock, and I think we had a really good relationship, and I think he liked me.
I think so.
And so he kind of, interviewed me all over again for Life of Pi. And what Ang was really interested in was the fact that I came from the theater, and that he had a sense of 3D, which he was really just learning about, and then devoured like the amazing but he had a sense that 3D is kind of like looking at a stage where there's actually depth. There's foreground and background, and so he kind of had it in his mind that I should do it because I came from the theater. And there are a lot of things that I designed with the idea of a proscenium in mind, so like especially the entrance to the zoo. And so the entrance to the zoo is proscenium, and you go into it and you see, it's almost like backdrops, one layer after another. So I did do a lot of that, but I don't know. I always kept that in mind.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much that played in the... I don't think of that necessarily as being the success of the production design. But the deal is because it was so ambitious, because so many people had tried to make it prior to Ang, and could never find a way to sort of sell it, to make it work.
Right.
We had a very, very long pre-production schedule, where we were just actually trying to develop our sales pitch. Do you know what I mean? Trying to develop for the studio a visual presentation which would make them believe that we could do this film. So long before there was a visual effects coordinator, it was myself with a couple of amazing illustrators, most notably Joanne Bush, and but also one of Ang's son, who was an artist and interested in trying his hand and did some fantastic illustrations for us. Yeah. Don Macy, and graphic artist that I had worked with in the previously, and also a concept, a fine artist that Ang had been introduced to before I even got involved, who did some paintings for Ang. So the thing is, before visual effects was involved, we were creating illustrations for all of these key moments in the story, and so we really had kind of created the roadmap and the design for what the visuals would look like. I think I had, and that was just sort of out of the sheer luxury of having to develop this show and tell, that we kind of, there was the movie. We knew what it was going to look like. At that point, I had already been to India to scout, and knew all of the locations we were going to use in India, as well as the inspiration. I went specifically to look at the town of Pondicherry, but also on that scout, which was my first time in India, I did a trip from north to south of every period zoo that there was in India, almost with the idea that we might be able to find a zoo that we could shoot it, and instead we ended up building and creating our own zoo at the garden in Pondicherry and back in Taiwan.
How big was the zoo that you built? How big was that?
Well, there were two aspects to it. First of all, there was a botanical garden that we created. That's where we had the entrance to the zoo, and there's a big bird cage there and ticket booths, and then that went to an area where the elephants and giraffes were. So how big was it? I don't know. It was big enough.
Big enough, okay.
It was big enough.
I'm trying to think, because I'm trying to remember the scenes, and they do a lot of walking through it, and I'm like, you built all that?
Right, so that was all, at a botanical garden. It was a botanical garden, but the structures then we built.
Wow.
And then the big set was the cage where Richard Parker is, the tiger. And that was all built in Taiwan on the tarmac of the airport that served as our sound stages and backlot.
How long was that shoot? How long were you in Taiwan for?
That was 120 days, 60 of it on a tank.
Oh my God.
Which we built as well.
Wow.
A 200-foot by 100-foot tank with 7 wave makers and a surround of containers on 3 sides.
Once again, you probably never would have researched how to build a wave machine or something.
Well, in all fairness, that was all special effects and an amazing company in Taiwan that built water parks.
Oh, wow.
So that but 120 days. 120 days.
Do you have a favorite film that you've designed?
Let me ask you this. Do you have twins? Do you have
Now
a
listen,
favorite?
on Wednesday, maybe I have a favorite. On Thursday, maybe I have a different favorite. I don't know. And some days I mix them up. I don't know.
No, I mean, I just feel like I've been really lucky. I mean, there are films that I've done which, I've done out of kind of necessity or convenience, to fill a slot, but not a lot of that. And in fact, I'd probably be, a much bigger success if I, took everything that was offered to me, but I don't. I don't.
No, you don't. So you do select projects. Is there anything that you turned down that you're mad that you turned down?
Yeah.
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 And what? Janine got it? Like what?
No, I mean, I think there have been a few things there where I thought, why did I say no, or why wouldn't I take that meeting? But I really don't have any regrets. I have to say, I've been blessed. And when you say, do I have favorite films? My favorite films really are not based on how they look, but the experience that we had. Yeah. Taking Woodstock was one we had so much fun doing that film. Cider House Rules was like heaven. I mean, that was such a wonderful, wonderful time. I don't know, it's more based on experience, but many of them.
Yeah.
I said I did a ton of films with Lasse Hallström, and all of them, Shipping News and Chocolat and Cider House Rules and Once Around. And, because he's such a lovely man, those experiences were so lovely. And we had, on all of those, we had such a lovely group of people.
Yeah. And, it does matter. It really does. Yeah. It really does.
It does. I mean, there are certainly directors or projects that I've stayed away from just because the work that we do, that all of us do, is so hard that you don't need to add that personality.
No, yeah. And it's true. It's true. And somebody else took it for the money. Yeah. I'm only going off of the IMDb resume, but in 38 years, you've done 51 projects. So basically, you've had a project going since 1982. I mean, are you tired?
Well, not now, because now I'm,
now we're all catching up
at my leisure. Yeah.
No.
They're all hard, right? They're all hard.
Yeah, they are.
And even in the best of circumstances and with the best group of people, they're all hard. But I don't know. I do love doing it. And now I'm working with Steve Zalian, who wrote and directed Talented Mr. Ripley. The scripts are unbelievable. It's such a kind of rich, wonderful project. It's Italy. It's 1960.
Yeah, that's
Rome,
awesome.
Venice, Naples, Palermo, the island of Ischia, the Amalfi Coast, and it's an enormous amount of work. And but what are you going to do? I mean,
you got to do it.
I wouldn't say no to it for anything.
Oh my gosh,
and,
no.
I wouldn't want anybody else to have it.
No, I know. That is a problem of not being able to turn things down. When you see the potential of something and you're like, that's going to be really good, but it's going to be really hard and it's going to suck for my team or just a little bit, or it's going to be bad here and it's going to be good in the end. But that potential of having such a good project and being enriched by it is what I have a hard time saying no to some bad things.
And you make sure that you have the people with you that are going to help you realize. everything that you want, and that you have just enough of the resources. I'm not a big one. I've never sort of. You can't scare me with a budget. You can't scare me with a budget because I know what you can do for X amount of dollars, and so if you're all right with that, if that's your number,
Right.
and I tell you that this is what we can do, then I'm all right with that.
Right.
It's when, people expect things that maybe are unrealistic in terms of the number.
Yeah.
It's not a lot to help them.
I think the sentence, I didn't write it, I'm just decorating it, is really true. I don't know what to tell you. This is what's written, and this is how much it'll cost. I'm not trying to be a dick about it. I'm just letting you know. And I'm not an over-exorbitant, like, $1,000 fabric type person either. I like a good deal. I like to barter, and I like to, like, feel like, oh, I got this. I got this as a favor, kind of, just so we could have this piece. And, I like the fight to get the look. But I don't want to have to be told, like, we have $1, but it should look like a $10 bill. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I can only do so much, but yeah, I don't know. But I have been lucky recently of budgets and it not being too much of an issue of like, let's get it done because it's a lot of work and we need it. So I have been lucky in that sense recently, but it does suck sometimes when you're constrained by that. But yeah. I'm going to finish up because I've kept you for over an hour. But I have to ask you about Once Around because I can't even tell you how many times I've watched it. I own it on DVD, obviously. I wanted my wedding to be like that. We were gonna do.
Which one of the weddings?
Oh well, her. Fly Me to the Moon. That whole dance scene. That was like.
Right.
That's what I wanted my whole wedding to be. That was it. So, I would say that movie for some reason in me has always stuck with me. So what I have to ask about it is, the location of the circle that they drive around was that hard to find? Was that like, did you go around a lot of circles and location scouts or?
The funny thing is the exterior circle, the big top shot is in, I can't even remember now, but in one of the suburbs outside of Boston. But all the interior stuff of them driving around the circle, we shot in Durham, North Carolina, which is where the house was. And
oh wow.
Yeah, I know. How did that happen?
That's two location cities that are nowhere near each other. Well, I guess they had a tax credit, and then you went to do exteriors. Is that what it is, or?
Well, we were always going to shoot in North Carolina because of the incentive there, or right to work state or whatever. So we were always going to shoot in North Carolina, but then we had. It was fantastic. But then we had to shoot in Boston for the circle. We shot their apartment.
Yeah.
The apartment, the bridge. They go shopping to buy him clothes, I think, in that wonderful men's clothing store. I can't remember the name.
Probably the film you don't want to talk about is the one I'm most interested in.
No, because that was the first time I worked with Lasse Hallström. And he had just done, the first time we met, he had just come to the United States. My Life as a Dog had come out, and it was everybody's favorite film in the world.
Right.
And so I got him, and he asked me to do it. And then I think it almost got postponed for about a year. It didn't happen then, and then it came back the following year, and I was available, and we did it, and so we shot in Raleigh and Durham, North Carolina. We shot in Boston. We shot the ice skating scene in, we must have been in Vermont.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was just going to ask where that was.
And we shot in St. Martin. And
oh, right. Like the tropical when they go down to the...
Yeah. And that was
real estate thing.
Lassa and I ended up having to take so many scouting trips to St. Martin. It was uncanny.
What a bummer.
We ended up going, we'll go scout on a Friday and we stayed through the weekend. It was great. And then it was the last thing we shot, and there were a number of families with kids on that movie, and we ended up the shoot in St. Martin, and everybody just had such a great time.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's to do with Lassa. He is so lovely.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it was a good experience.
Yeah, it was a great experience. The house, like I said, the house was in Raleigh or Durham. I think Durham, North Carolina. And not at all what I would have imagined, because it was supposed to be, kind of a split-level ranch-style suburban Massachusetts house. But Lassa fell in love with that house, and I had we'd just done Mr. and Mrs. Bridge, and it was so much the same kind of house, American two-story, that we had.
It made for a better, looking down at them, I don't know, if you were... I mean, all those different rooms and the pocket doors and everything to me is just sort of, it just sticks out. That film just sticks out so much to me. I don't know. I was a big Richard Dreyfuss fan at the time or something. I don't know. I think too, my mom loved that movie, and we would watch it a couple times or whatever. I don't know. There's something about that movie. I just love it. That's
good.
Yeah. So just as a moment of geeking out on you, I contacted you because you were nominated this year for Catch-22. I knew that you had done Life of Pi. I was there at the ADG Awards the year that you won. So obviously I know you, but I didn't know that you did Once Around. So it was such a oh my God, he did Once Around. Oh my God. It's such a moment of wow, this is crazy that I'm talking to the guy that inspired me. This is crazy. So yeah. So
this
thank you.
Pillow here.
Yeah.
Pillow here in Dongia mohair.
Yes.
That was in the penthouse apartment in Boston.
There you go.
Yeah.
We all take things from the set as memorabilia.
Well, we paid for them.
Well, it's Dongia. You better.
Trade for them. Absolutely. We trade for them. And I have to say, because this was Gretchen Rao, and this little ashtray was Gretchen Rao from Once Around.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. There's a chair over here that belonged to our next door neighbor, and she was getting rid of it, and that ended up being Paul Newman's chair in Nobody's Fool.
Now, how was was it just incredibly awesome to watch Paul Newman act?
I worked with him 3 times.
Oh, 3 times. What was the other?
Mr. and Mrs. Bridge, Nobody's Fool, and Robert Benton film called Twilight, not to be confused with the...
Oh, yes, the other, yes. Oh, I didn't realize he was in that.
Yeah, so he's amazing. But the most wonderful was Mr. and Mrs. Bridge, to see he and his wife act together. And then, we shot that all in Kansas City, and we lived right across from a place called the Country Club Plaza, which was the first outdoor shopping mall in America. And you would see Paul and Joanna walking hand in hand, and in the evening, and
That's
it was
awesome.
pretty great. It was pretty great.
Do you you've had some films where you work with actors as directors?
Yeah.
Is that fun? I don't know. It's a hard question to ask, but I want to ask it because you had like Gary Sinise or Bill Murray and George Clooney, and
I did two with Gary Sinise, and those were both terrific. Miles from Home and Of Mice and Men. George Clooney is fantastic.
Yeah,
he's so great. I have to say, wonderful person. I find him a wonderful director, and so clear and easy to work with. And I have to say, Bill, it was a film that he co-directed with Howard.
Oh wait, maybe I have it here.
Howard wrote the screenplay, and he and Bill directed it together. I have to say, it was that was a hard one for me.
Howard Franklin.
Yeah. It was hard because at the same time we were shooting that, we were prepping Mr. and Mrs. Bridge, and my wife was in Kansas City. I would be on the shoot during the week in New York and then fly Friday night or Saturday morning to Kansas City and work. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy.
Doing films in different cities and prepping and shooting is never, I don't think, an easy thing.
That was a stretch. But Mr. and Mrs. Bridge was that's right up there with one of the best kind of experiences.
Yeah.
Working with James Ivory, it's just heaven. Really.
I sometimes will just like go on a spree of how many great people are that the designer decorators worked with. You have such a long list that it would be it's like wow, people wouldn't believe it. You really, you have obviously inspired me, but I really just think you are an amazing designer, and I thank you for inspiring me, really, honestly and truly, and for this time that you've given me. And I had a full glass. You didn't have any. This is.
I know. Well, I thought about that.
Oh, you didn't.
You'll be having a martini with dinner, though. So
that's good. I know a lot of my friends and I can't seem to keep our liquor cabinets full during this pandemic. I don't know what the problem is.
It's tricky, isn't it? Yeah. I thought about having my martini early, but I'm going to wait for Karen.
Yes. I thank you so much for this time and sharing all this with me because it's incredibly interesting and incredibly informative to people who work in this business and who are inspired by you. So thank you so much.
Thank you for doing these podcasts.
Yeah, trying.
That's great.
Trying. It's fun. It's really just me geeking out over people, but it's fun.
Hey, we didn't talk about fences.
I know. Well, I asked about we can. I'm totally into it. I was trying to get into that with like the
I completely forgot about it. That was another unbelievable experience working with Denzel. Yeah, talk about.
So powerful. Yeah, powerful.
Oh my God, he was amazing, really amazing. And a wonderful DP.
Was that when you work with actors who are directing, is it hard? Do you see that it's hard for them because they're acting as they're directing? Like, are there other voices on set that you feel are like helping them? Like, I'm sure like the designer could help with like, oh, well, no.
Denzel? No.
Well, no, maybe not Denzel.
Maybe
or not
George?
Clooney.
No.
Maybe not Clooney. All right, never mind. Bad
Gary,
question.
no. Yeah, no. I mean, these are all really strong artists with, great minds and visions and instincts, obviously. Yeah.
Well, I mean...
Yeah. Fences was a dream job, I have to say.
Was that shot
because of the research.
in New York?
That was all shot in no. That was all shot in Pittsburgh in Real House. In Real Back.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. God.
It never occurred to me in a million years that would be anything but a stage set, because there's so many days of shooting in it, and especially the backyard because of controlling the light.
Right.
But Denzel said from the beginning, I want Troy to be able to walk down a street, walk into a house, walk through the house, into the backyard, all in one shot. And he said, the only way we can do that is to be on location. So finding that combination of a street with a house, with an interior, with a backyard that worked was not easy.
Plus, you got to find you got to find the other people's backyard that works, and
No, absolutely right. We had to exactly, and that was just, I mean, hard scouting, but also incredible luck to find that.
And weather. Then you really have to think about weather, and you're in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we had a lot of rain.
Yeah, I bet. And cold. I mean, I don't know what time of year you were there, but it was either probably really hot or really cold. In this time off, I really have been able to dive deep into getting interviews, which I'm pretty lucky. And all I want to do is work after I do these interviews, and listening to David and talking with him has just been so inspiring. I'm so thankful that he was able to give up this time for the podcast. I mean, I just want to stop time and research and shop and do everything for the sets to get ready for my next project. And it's so weird because we actually have time. So it's kind of like this pandemic has made time stop. But unfortunately, they shut off my P card. So, I guess that's probably the right thing to do. I probably would have been spending. But I would have been spending anyway. So, whatever. Anyway, I thank David for giving me this time and his insight. I definitely learned from this interview, and that's invaluable. So thank you so very much, David. Again, everyone, keep safe, keep your distance. Even if you are allowed to go out at this time, just be smart, be safe. I know so many types of businesses have been affected. Little mom and pop stores were hit the hardest. And I'm going to try to help out a friend here. My best friend opened up a high-end consignment shop store in Westwood, LA about a year or so ago, and has had to close because of this pandemic and letting go her staff. So she has not only been homeschooling 3 daughters at this time, but she has also turned her store into an online store for sale. So if you want to shop, which I know you miss shopping, her website is trove-la.myshopify.com. I'll put that on the blog for this episode, and all small businesses need our help. I mean, we try to do takeout at least once a week for local restaurants. If I've been looking for the shops on my 3rd Street to see if they're doing online shops, I just want to help out. Anything I can do, I'm trying. In upcoming episodes, I have interviews with set deck buyer Lane Abramson, Roma's production designer Ingino Cabrera, production designer Bob Shaw of The Irishman, Sopranos, Boardwalk Empire. I can't even talk about it. And my dear friend, the production designer of The Goldbergs, Corey Lorenzen. So I've got some good stuff coming up. I'm really proud of it. and it's been an amazing couple weeks doing this podcast. So thank you to everyone who's reaching out and letting me interview them. Check out the Decorating Pages podcast picture pages, because I've started putting up clips of interviews to video, and they're on YouTube, and it's like picture pages. Now I put the sets to what we're talking about. It's kind of cool. Can you give us just a rating? Rate it on iTunes. Maybe leave a comment if you'd like. As a comment, maybe you win a prize. I don't know. Maybe we'll try that now. But if you could rate it, that'd be great. Thank you. I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wanup for Decorating Pages. Decorating Pages is sponsored by Stogie Floaty, luxury pool floats. Float 'em if you got 'em. Sold now on stogiefloaty.com.